Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Pemko number 2005 DT. This is a threshold, is what it is. This is a threshold that is actually does a number of things. In no particular order, this is what we would call a bump-up style threshold, or a latch track, or a panic threshold. It can be used, it can be called all of those. Generally seen in outswing applications, can be an inswing if you wanted. Let's first take some dimensional properties and we'll talk about where you use this. This is just a 6-inch sample piece. This is a 5-inch wide threshold, and it's going to be a 1/4 inch over here, and its overall height is 1/2 inch. I often get asked what this dimension is from where the aluminum starts to the leading edge. It's about 3 1/4 to the face of the inserted T, the T or the ThermoSeal. It's closer to about 3 1/16. Okay. You'll notice that there are some serrations that are featured in this profile. That is really a feature, an advantageous feature that you'll find on bump-up thresholds, because what's happening is when the threshold is installed down to the floor, though they're not serrations, they're just grooves, so to speak, they really help prevent that lateral movement of the threshold as the door is continually making contact with it like that. So it's a nice feature of this material. Let's talk about now where you will see this threshold installed and where you should consider installing it. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. So I had said earlier that this threshold is known by many names. So it's a bump-up threshold. That's pretty obvious. Your door is going to seal against this. That's a great feature when you simply want to seal the door very well. If it's an outswing, that means your door is going to make contact with that inserted T or ThermoSeal on the inside of the door. So your door is occupying this space here. I personally don't like my line of defense to be already on the interior of the building. I'd like to have it out here. So if you're going to use a ThermoSeal, it is a good product to use when you want to approach this from a belt and suspenders approach, where you're going to have a sweep out here, perhaps with a drip cap. Or even beyond that, you could have a automatic door bottom, not only outside, although that's difficult to have work with a drip cap. You could have one that's mortised into the bottom of the door, or that fits into the bottom rail, or I should say the inverted bottom channel of a steel door. So you could really seal the bottom of that door exceptionally well. And you will find, and this is not unlike that, application of STC openings where they will have multiple lines of defense. So consider that. Where would you want multiple lines of defense? Well, here in Southwest Florida, horizontal rain, and that's just goofing around. That's not even serious weather. Doesn't happen often, but when it does, that water will penetrate through every unsealed area. During Hurricane Irma, there was a condo building, and many of them suffered from this. In a particular neighborhood, first and second floor, there were actually interlocking thresholds installed. These were at least 25 years old. They no longer sealed. That water came through every space of air that air could travel through, from the soffit of the stop to the face of the stop to the rabbet of the frame, into the space. The stiles, the header, the clearance from the bottom of the door to the floor, which is where a sill was installed, but I believe the interlocking J strips or the J hooks were long removed. It caused serious damage inside. These apartments on the first and second floor had to be renovated. So, is it a bit overkill? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. You might live in the American Southwest where you want to keep out critters. You might want to keep out sand when it kicks up. You might want to keep out sound. So whether it be temperature, or it be particulate, or living things, or it might be sound attenuation, the belt and suspender approach is not one to discount immediately. So the bump up is nice because it will be used to seal very well. It will get you started. I like to have my line of defense out here. If you're doing an STC opening, you will see thresholds that look just like this. I had also mentioned latch track and panic. This type of threshold you'll very often see on the back wall of a big box store, 100,000 square foot building, because the occupancy load in the building requires, and there is a formula to determine this, how many inches of clear opening space is required to evacuate people. There's literally a formula that says if your occupancy is 200, there's a multiplier that says you need this quantity of clear opening space. You'll very often see 3 sets of double doors on the back wall of that building. That math, that multiplier has been run based on the occupancy that it's loaded, that it's rated for. Those doors have surface vertical rod exit devices. Now, where do you install a bottom strike for an exit device down onto a threshold like this? Do you cut a big hole down here and destroy part of your seal? No. You can use this feature as the strike for that bottom latch. So latch track or panic. That's what that's called right there. If this was the genuine article, there would be holes drilled and countersunk. Screws would be included. They'd be like a number 10 by 1.25 inches, flathead Phillips wood style screws. You're going to want to consider anchors. Pemko can supply other anchors. If it was me, I wouldn't use the ones they send. Every time I would try to use lead anchors and machine screws. If you've ever walked over a threshold that clanked, yeah, the installation has partially failed, where the threshold is now no longer secure. So this is just a 6-inch sample piece. The T in the part number is this ThermoSeal, is what this is. This can be ordered as a replacement. It's not unusual to do that. You will very likely need to remove the threshold from the floor to get that slid in. You can't kind of just cheat that in this fashion. And is available in other finishes, mill, dark bronze, obviously. They can probably do black as well. White, black powder coated, white powder coated. They may be able to still do gold. They may have discontinued gold as an option. An oil rub bronze equivalent powder coat they can probably do. It's listed in the site in lengths up to 8 foot. You can really have this in any length you want, up to about 16.5 feet. We don't list them longer because it's really unusual to need a threshold longer than 8 foot when it's like this. You might use a saddle threshold if you are a car dealership, and yeah, you might have a pair of 5-foot aluminum doors because you're bringing vehicles in and out. We can get all that for you. We don't list them because the cost to ship lengths longer, when it gets longer than 3 foot, it starts to go like this. When it gets longer than 90 inch, it really goes like this. But just know, we can order any length that you want, up to the maximum extrusion length of about 16.5 feet. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at the supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. All right, here is the threshold that we are looking at. There's its cross-section, its profile. This is probably an older cut sheet, but we will we'll take a look and see what other finishes it's available in. If you needed the replacement insert, it's the T5 in a black BL. So if you searched our site for T5 BL, you will certainly find that ThermoSeal. It's sold per foot. You know, you might find a 12-inch piece there and you might need 100 feet. Order 100 12-inch pieces and indicate in the comment field to ship it as a continuous roll sort of situation, so they don't send you literally 112-inch pieces. One thing I didn't mention earlier, and I should have, is that this is handicap compliant. It is, and the reason it is because of a number of things that I'm seeing here. First of all, it doesn't exceed the maximum half-inch. That's number one. Number two, this rise over run relationship doesn't exceed the one permissible. by handicap compliance. Number 3, it doesn't have more than a 1/4 inch of a 90-degree space. It doesn't have more than a 1/4 inch of height change in a 90-degree relationship. If this was more than a 1/4 inch from here to here, it wouldn't be handicap compliant. And that, of course, is a mandatory requirement. I'll actually show you a resource where you can get a lot more information on this ADA compliance. Allow a 3/8 door clearance. This is another reason these thresholds are used. The architect may call out an undercut like 1/2 inch. And when you've got a 1/2 inch undercut, you're going to certainly need a threshold that is appropriate for that. This wouldn't be appropriate for a 3/8, a 1/2 inch undercut because the overall height is. But you could certainly run a 3/8 undercut, which would be pretty good. You'd have a 1/4 inch under the door. That would be an 1/8 of an inch left here. You'd have a lot of contact with the face of the door itself. You'd have, basically an 1/8 of an inch. So if you were to do a 3/8, well, clearance and undercut are two different things. Let's define that. Just bear with me as I make a couple of drawings. If we're looking at a cross section, if you're looking at a door and frame, you're going to see the return from the throat side of the frame. This should all be dashed. From the throat side of the frame, you'll see that 1/2 inch return. The door, you would see it if you could look through the rabbet of the frame. The rabbet of the frame is really going to continue here. Then you've got the stop, and then you've got the other rabbet. The undercut is the distance from the bottom of the jamb to the bottom of the door. Okay? That's undercut. Clearance is something different in the sense that, well, using the same drawing, if you had some tile installed in here, your clearance is the dimension from the top of the surface that you would attach the threshold to the underside of the door. So the undercut is the relationship between the bottom of the frame of the jamb leg or the frame leg to the bottom of the door, which is typically 3/4 inch in hollow metal doors, but it could be many other things. Most certainly is probably not 3/4 inch if it's a wood door. That's usually 1/2 inch or 5/8. But in hollow metal work, the architect can come back and say, I want a 1/2 inch undercut. I want a 3/8 undercut. Not uncommon. Why? Why have so much room there? Pull that door down further. Close that gap in here. It's a better way to go, is the bottom line. That's the difference between undercut and clearance. You could just have a flooring condition here. You could have tile, installed on top of the floor substrate. So if your jamb sits here, clearance is from here down to here. Pardon me. Undercut is here to here. Clearance is here to here. That's the difference. Okay. Now, let's take another look at something here. Here we go. I was just handed a coffee. I apologize. Extended description information is here. Latching panic saddle threshold is what that's called. Yes. The lengths we talked about, the width we talked about, the anchoring we've already spoken about. Made of aluminum in a dark bronze anodized finish, and that ThermoSeal, etc. Now, let's take a look below this video to the manufacturer's page right here, and when you click on that, you'll be able to pull up not only the Pemko website that's here, but also a link to the manufacturer's catalog. So let's take a look at that. And then when that loads, do a Control F on your keyboard for 2005, and you will get to the page where you can see it. 2005. And the catalog is handy because while the price list is always more up to date than the catalog, it does list the available finishes for that catalog for that published year. Oil rub bronze equivalent powder coated, mill finish, black suede powder coat, dark bronze, gold, white suede powder coat. I skipped over the B. That's because B means that the material is no longer aluminum, it's now architectural bronze. Some people call that brass. Call it whatever you like, but it's no longer aluminum, and it's $100 or $200 a foot because it's made of solid architectural bronze, which is an alloy of about 4 different base materials. Very common. Now, why would you want one made of brass or bronze compared to aluminum? Well, you might have a 5-star hotel on the southwest coast of Florida, and you get an outrageous amount of traffic through the doors on a daily basis. You'll need something robust, a base material that's exceptionally robust. You might be building in that same neighborhood I just mentioned, a $10 million house. You're probably not going to use aluminum. You'll probably be using bronze. Onto that bronze base material, you could leave it as mill finish or polished or satin. They can do an oil rub. They can even do a satin bronze process on it as well. This catalog is nice because it will also tell you the insert, whether it's a 2005 or any other item in the Pemko catalog that has an insert. I went too far. I want to go to something that's different. Something that has an insert. Here's a different one. The 277, that takes a SR6. Letters will be here. If it's available in different colors, BL, that's black. It might be G or GR, whatever. Actually, they listed here. BL, GR, W for white. I had also mentioned a resource, the A117.1-2009. If you would like to see everything important about thresholds and handicap compliance, you will, by researching this document thoroughly, find every instance of the word threshold, and it comes up. It definitely comes up. Let's look at sections 302 and 303. Because it'll probably give us the rise over run relationship. Yep, I went right over it. There it is. 302, floor surfaces. 303, changes in level. That's that relationship, which this threshold is compliant with. Well, 1/4 inch max I had mentioned earlier. Okay, let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've made it this far into this video, you must be determined to see it through to the end, and we appreciate your hanging in there with us and watching this entire video. It means a lot. It takes a lot of work to create these videos in the sense that, it's time taken away from doing other things. However, the advantage for me personally of creating these videos is the fact that it does allow myself to either learn about something new, to reacquaint myself with something, or to reinforce what I believe that I already know. Any comments that you might leave down below would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. In my experience, the name Pemko is most widely known, most notorious, most commonly understood name in weather stripping in the industry. Many other people do it, but Pemko is the one that everyone knows. Pemko also happens to be the one that has the largest catalog in terms of diversity of products. They just simply do, is the bottom line. They have lots of material, lots of different profiles. On top of all of the different profiles, let me back up. The Pemko catalog is so flush with options in terms of profiles, you can almost use it as an idea book. You take their profiles, adding to the fact that they can do fabrication to the material, cutting and welding and things of that nature, you get yourself into a position where you have lots of options to seal issues. Pemko is under the ASA Abloy umbrella, and her sister companies would be Rockwood, they would be Sargent, Yale, Corbin, Medico, perhaps 20 other companies actually. Valley and Valley is under the ASA Abloy umbrella as well, as is Abloy, as is ASA. These are high security cylinder platforms. when it comes to builder's hardware, you're really going to do a good job with one supplier under Assa Abloy. Seco, Curry's, Barron, hollow metal door manufacturers are underneath that umbrella as well. HES Strikes, Folger Atom. It just goes on and on. Anyway, if you have any questions on anything Pemko related or weather stripping in general, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you very much. Regarding the links to ads that you might see in this video, we do apologize for any interruption to a smooth viewing experience. And hopefully the ads that are being presented to you are related to the base product. And if there is something, feel free to click on those and perhaps consider taking a look at what that other advertiser is promoting. Let's get back to the video. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you. Thanks to our clients, Architectural Builder Supply is building an additional facility. And what follows is not only a look at the acreage that we're building the facility on, but also first the architectural renderings as they exist, or at least the architectural plans as they exist at this time. Thank you very much. Let's take a look. All right, let's take a look at the architecturals as they exist at this moment, or at least it wouldn't be proper to call these architecturals, but it would be proper to call them renderings in the sense of they're conceptual drawings, they're not renderings. So the entire space is going to look like this in terms of a site rendering. This will be a 22,000 square foot building, of which we'll have specific purpose areas. There'll be a workshop down here. This is a few thousand square feet that will be likely woodworking, metalworking, CNC, things of that nature. This will be an office area here, a private office area. This will be Architectural Builders Supply expanded storage area where we will be able to do fulfillment. The entire space in the center is going to be all of the volume, as I call it. Large components will be able to be stored and stocked there. Machinery that's too large to fit otherwise may be put out here. Specific facility rooms, and then some recreation over here. Let's take a look at that drone footage, and thank you very much for taking a look.